guests and colleagues, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. On behalf of the Islamic Development Bank, I would like to welcome all of you to our side event on advancing Islamic finance and impact investing, which has been jointly organized by the Islamic Development Bank Group, the United Nations Development Program, and Indonesia's Financial Services Authority, the OJK. Following IDB's tradition, let me first invite Qari Junaiduddin Idrous to open our session by reciting for us a few verses from the Holy Quran.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تأكلوا الربا أضعافا مضاعفة يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تأكلوا الربا أضعافا مضاعفة واتقوا الله لعلكم تفلحون. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تأكلوا الربا أضعافا مضاعفة واتقوا الله لعلكم تفلحون. واتقوا النار التي أعدت للكافرين. وأطيعوا الله والرسول لعلكم ترحمون. وسارعوا إلى مغفرة من ربكم وجنة عرضها السماوات والأرض عرضها السماوات والأرض أعدت للمتقين. الذين ينفقون في السراء والضراء والكاظمين الغيظ الغيظ والعافين عن الناس والله يحب المحسنين. صدق الله العظيم.
I would next like to give floor to our esteemed speakers to deliver their opening remarks. First, Her Excellency Ms. Jihan Sultanoglu, Assistant Secretary of General of the United Nations and Assistant Administrator of the United Nations Development Program.
Excellency Dr. Ahmed Mohammed Al-Madani, President of the IDB, Excellency Dr. Bambang Brojonegoro, Minister of Finance of Indonesia, Excellency Dr. Muleyman Di Haddad, Chairman of OJK, Excellencies, distinguished participants, dear colleagues. I am honored to contribute to this high-level policy dialogue for advancing Islamic finance and impact investment for implementing the Sustainable Development Goals. I would like to thank the Islamic Development Bank and OJK for co-organizing this event together with UNDP. 2015 was a landmark year for development with major global agreements and summits related to development taking place. The global community has agreed on several milestones which will shape the global development agenda. The Paris Climate Agreement, the Sendai Disaster Risk Reduction Framework, the Addis Ababa Action Agenda on Financing for Development, and 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, and the 17 Sustainable Development Goals accompanying it. Together, these frameworks add up to a once-in-a-generation opportunity to respond to the development challenges we are facing, such as indignity of poverty, social inequalities, conflicts, and environmental hazards. Achieving this bold and universal agenda might seem like a daunting task, as trillions of dollars each year are required to support the Sustainable Development Agenda. Yet, we have far more wealth, more knowledge, and more technological capabilities than ever before to fulfill our commitments to achieve Sustainable Development Goals. What we need is to reinvigorate and strengthen global partnerships for sustainable development, supported by concrete policies and actions to utilize all available resources in a coordinated and efficient fashion. The Addis Ababa Action Agenda of July 2015 was an important milestone in realizing this vision. It set important priorities for development investments. These priorities include scaling up efforts to end hunger and malnutrition, delivering social protection and essential public services for all, bridging the infrastructure gap, promoting inclusive and sustainable industrialization, full and productive employment and decent work for all, ensuring peaceful and inclusive societies, and protecting the environment. We need to make every effort to ensure the effective deployment of all resources development finance can bring to support the Sustainable Development Goals. Official development assistance will remain essential for many people and countries, especially for the poorest and the most vulnerable, which struggle to raise domestic revenues and attract private finance. Yet, we need to blend, catalyze, and mobilize additional resources of finance, domestic and international, public and private, and environmental and developmental, to complement and reinforce official development agenda. The Addis Ababa Action Agenda recognizes that alternative financing mechanisms will need to be stepped up, such as impact investing and innovative financing mechanisms like green bonds and carbon pricing which combine public and private resources. Impact investments, which generate a measurable and positive social or environmental impact alongside a financial return, are also recognized as a valuable source of development finance by the OECD and G8 as well. Over the last decade, impact investments have gained traction among public and private investors. Islamic finance has an important role to play in supporting the new Sustainable Development Agenda. The Islamic financial industry was extremely resilient during the global financial crisis of 2008. Islamic financial instruments reflect a viable and promising alternative to conventional financial instruments in stimulating inclusive economic growth. Islamic finance has grown in double-digit rates in the past decade, growing in both Muslim and non-Muslim countries and gradually moving towards a global asset class. Islamic finance has also widened its geographical reach and now extends to South Africa and Europe. With its growth potential, ethical principles, concern for financial stability, emphasis on risk and reward sharing, and strong linkages to the real economy, Islamic finance is a potent and yet untapped resource for SDG financing. In many ways, the principles of Islamic finance and impact investing are compatible. Bringing these two sectors together represents an unprecedented opportunity for putting our world on an inclusive and sustainable growth path. As I mentioned at the beginning of my speech, a revitalized global partnership will be crucial in realizing our new Sustainable Development Agenda. The Islamic Development Bank and UNDP have worked together for almost 3 decades in many countries. Together, we have built environmentally friendly wastewater treatment facilities, enhanced agricultural production, promoted aid for trade in the Arab states, and supported micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises through ICTs. Today marks another milestone in our decades-long partnership. We are proud to co-establish the Global Islamic Finance and Impact Investing Platform, which represents an excellent example of innovative multi-stakeholder partnerships required for achieving the SDGs. The Global Islamic Finance and Impact Investing Platform will build on a business innovation, entrepreneurship, and multi-stakeholder collaboration to maximize the scale and effectiveness of development investments. It will serve as a knowledge hub for promoting peer learning and experience sharing, a forum for policy dialogue and advocacy, and a marketplace for deal sourcing and matchmaking. Connecting Islamic financiers with impact investors and impact enterprises, the platform will drive forward innovative business solutions to help address sustainable development challenges in a fair, inclusive, transparent, quantifiable, and verifiable manner. The Islamic Development Bank and UNDP are committed to supporting such initiatives together to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals so that we can realize our pledge to leave no one behind. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Next, I would like to invite His Excellency Dr. Ahmed Muhammad Ali, the President of the Islamic Development Bank.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على خاتم أنبيائه ورسله وعلى سيدنا محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين وصحابته أجمعين. معالي الدكتور بامبانج بيرمادي وزير المالية، معالي السيد منيوان حداد رئيس هيئة الخدمات المالية في إندونيسيا، السيدة جيهان سلطان أغلو مساعدة مديرة برنامج الأمم المتحدة الإنمائي، أيها الإخوة والأخوات، السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. يسعدني كل السعادة أن أرحب بكم بالنيابة عن مجموعة البنك الإسلامي للتنمية في هذا الحوار بشأن سياسات التمويل الإسلامي والاستثمار ذي الأثر Impact Investment. أود في البداية أن أزدي الشكر إلى شريكينا هيئة الخدمات المالية الإسلامية في إندونيسيا وبرنامج الأمم المتحدة الإنمائي على تعاونهما في تنظيم هذه الفعالية. ويسعدني كل السعادة أن أعرب عن جزيل الشكر وصادق الامتنان لشعب جمهورية إندونيسيا وحكومتها على حسن الترتيب وكرم الضيافة في تنظيم هذا الحدث. لقد كان عام 2015 عاما تاريخيا تسنى خلاله التوصل إلى اتفاقيات على المبادرات الدولية الرئيسية الرامية إلى التصدي للتحديات الاجتماعية والاقتصادية والمالية الصعبة، وهي مبادرات يمكن أن تحدد شكل المشهد الإنمائي على نحو لا سابق له. لقد عزز برنامج عمل أديس أبابا للتمويل من أجل التنمية وبرنامج عمل 2030 للتنمية المستدامة واتفاق باريس بشأن المناخ الجهود العالمية الرامية إلى إنهاء الفقر وإنقاذ كوكبنا الأرضي وإحداث تحول في حياة الناس من خلال الشراكات وتقليص أوجه المساواة وإعادة الكرامة للإنسان وعدم التخلي عن أي أحد ليتخلف عن الركب. أيها الأخوة والأخوات، يتطلب نطاق أهداف التنمية المستدامة وما تتسم به من طموح توفير الموارد المالية والتقنية الضخمة، فحتى التقديرات المتحفظة لبلوغ أهداف التنمية المستدامة تقدر بتريليون دولار من التمويل العالمي سنوياً. وفي ظل الأزمات المالية والاقتصادية المتكررة التي نمر بها، لا يمكن تحقيق برنامج العمل الطموح هذا بالاعتماد فقط على المصادر التقليدية لتمويل التنمية، وثمة حاجة واضحة إلى استكشاف موارد مبتكرة للتمويل وتسخير الاستثمارات الخاصة جنباً إلى جنب مع الأشكال التقليدية لتمويل التنمية. إن التمويل الإسلامي بإمكاناته الذاخرة ودوره الهام فيما يتعلق بالمساهمة في الاستقرار المالي والاندماج المالي ومشاركة الازدهار، يمكنه أن يسهم بفاعلية بدور حاسم في توسيع مصادر الموارد المالية لدعم تنفيذ برنامج عمل 2030 ميلادية من أجل التنمية المستدامة. وبفضل تركيز التمويل الإسلامي على تقاسم المخاطر ونهجه القائم على الشراكة والتركيز على المساهمة في رأس المال، فإنه لا يعمل فحسب على زيادة إتاحة الموارد المالية، بل يأتي أيضاً بحلول بديلة تركز بقدر أكبر على القطاعات الحقيقية في دعم برنامج عمل أهداف التنمية المستدامة. ومن جانب آخر، يشكل الاستثمار ذي الأثر التنموي والاجتماعي جنباً إلى جنب مع تحقيق عائد مالي على الاستثمار مصدراً آخر مهماً لتمويل أهداف التنمية المستدامة ككل. أيها الأخوة والأخوات، ثمة تناغم واضح بين مبادئ التمويل الإسلامي ومبادئ الاستثمار ذي الأثر، إذ أن كليهما يؤكد بقوة على المعايير الأخلاقية والاجتماعية، فضلاً عن العلاقات السليمة بين الأعمال والمجتمع، وبوصفهما قطاعين يقومان على المبادئ، وحيث أن التمويل الإسلامي والمستثمرين في مجال الاستثمار ذي الأثر يطمحون دائما إلى إحداث قيمة اجتماعية وبيئة مضافة جنبا إلى جنب مع تحقيق عوائد مالية عادلة، والذي من شأنه أن يزيل تضارب المصالح بين المستثمر والمجتمع. علاوة على ذلك، يقدم كلا القطاعين فرصاً كبيرة لإقامة نظم مالية شاملة للجميع، مما يؤدي إلى تفعيل الإدماج المالي لغير المتعاملين مع البنوك في القطاع المالي الرسمي. أيها الإخوة والأخوات، في العقود الأربعة الأخيرة اطلعت مجموعة البنك الإسلامي للتنمية بدور رائد في تطوير التمويل الإسلامي في شتى قطاعات اقتصادات بلداننا الأعضاء. وحتى الآن طبقت مجموعة البنك الإسلامي للتنمية أشكالاً عديدة من أدوات التمويل الإسلامي لتمويل المشروعات وتوفير الموارد للبنية التحتية والطاقة والصحة والتعليم والمياه والصرف الصحي والتجارة والإسكان والقطاعات الأخرى. ويمكنها أيضاً أن تلبي بإذن الله احتياجات الحكومات والقطاع الخاص لتمويل المشروعات الكبرى، فضلاً عن عمليات المستوى الأصغر. أيها الأخوة والأخوات، تهدف شراكتنا الحالية مع UNDP فيما يتعلق بالتمويل الإسلامي والاستثمار ذي الأثر إلى الترويج لإيجاد حلول قائمة على العرض والطلب لمواجهة تحديات التنمية المستدامة، وذلك بإنشاء منصة للعمل التعاوني بين أصحاب المصلحة الرئيسيين. وفي هذا السياق يغدو لنتائج هذه الفعالية الجانبية دور فاعل في تشكيل مستقبل هذا الجهد المهم، مع كل التمنيات للجميع بالنجاح وبمداولات موفقة. وأشكر لكم جميعا هذه المشاركة الفاعلة، وأترمكسي وبالله الهداية والتوفيق، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Thank you very much. Finally, I would like to give the floor to one of our generous hosts, His Excellency Dr. Bambang Brojonegoro, Minister of Finance of the Republic of Indonesia.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Excellency, President of Islamic Development Bank Group, Dr. Ahmad Muhammad Ali. Excellency, Pak Mulyaman Haddad, Chairman of OJK, and representative from UNDP, distinguished panelists, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin, all praise be upon Allah, the Almighty and Merciful. Very good afternoon to all of you. It is our great pleasure for me to welcome you all to this important event that has brought prominent experts in Islamic finance to Jakarta. I am pleased to be making the opening speech before this high-level policy dialogue for advancing Islamic finance and impact investment today. At the outset, on behalf of the government of Indonesia, let me express my gratitude to you all for finding time out of your tight schedule to participate in this event. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, as many of you may aware, challenges in today's world are getting more complex and requiring more than existing government's instrument to address them. Addressing those challenges can also be interpreted as presenting business opportunities for the private sector. Impact investing builds on the opportunity of financing the innovative market based on the solutions to economic, social, environment, and governance challenges around the world. The challenges of today's world are getting ever complex and requiring more than the existing government instrument to address them, which bring the public, private, and civil society together to agree on the need for innovative solutions. At the same time, addressing these challenges could also present business opportunities for the private sector. Impact investing builds on the opportunity of financing the innovative market based on the solution to economic, social, environment, and governance challenges around the world. I recall correctly that impact investing started as a discipline after the 2008 global financial crisis that highlighted the importance of responsible finance in building a resilient and robust economy as well as healthy society. The basic definition of the impact investment is the investment with the intention to generate social and environmental impact alongside the financial returns. Intentionally of impact, return expectation, impact measurements are the core characteristic of the impact investments, and the investor may adjust their return expectation according to the desired level of impact. The potential of the impact investing also recognized and developed by the G8 into a policy recommendation for its member and OECD. This clearly signals the mainstreaming of the impact investing. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that Islamic finance has a significant role to address the impact investment as it provides a transparent and equitable transaction between parties. Many aspects in the impact investments are covered by Islamic finance, including inclusive society, equality, partnership, and justice for all. With those characteristics, Islamic finance is believed will be able to reduce inequality within and among countries, which is in line with the impact investment that attempts to reduce inequality by empowering the bottom percentile of income earners, not to mention flexibility of the transaction accounts that promotes innovation all over it. The Islamic finance emphasis on linking transaction to real economic activities and strong stance against speculative and manipulative activities embedded all together with innovative extension has spotlighted the Islamic finance as an alternative to the conventional financial approaches in the search for restraining the financial risk to the societies. The convergence between innovative Islamic finance and impact investing at the core level offers a great opportunity to amplify the scale and impact of both industries. The Green Sukuk would readily serve as Islamic impact investment product example that could be bridged by the Islamic Development Bank through innovative Islamic finance for application in developing member countries against impact investment market making in developed countries. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, according to the UNCTAD estimation, total global additional investment needed for the Sustainable Development Goals related activities will be around $6 trillion for the next 15 years. According to the G8 Social Impact Investment Task Force, impact investing industry has the potential to reach $1 trillion with the right policies. Islamic impact investment presents a historic opportunity to the governments, private sector, and societies of the countries that Islamic Development Bank is serving, as well as to Islamic finance industry at a global level. The critical issues for institutional and technical capacity development for Islamic impact investing ecosystem, including the policies, mechanisms, products, instruments, tools have to be identified and addressed properly to allow for innovation under the Sharia compliance. This also provides opportunity for Islamic Development Bank Group to help developing a set of actions to enhance the capacities toward harnessing opportunities as well as addressing the challenges, the utilization of Islamic impact investing for the achievement of Sustainable Development Goal. Islamic Development Bank Group must lead the role upon interactions of international partners, NGOs, and academia in developing capacity both in local and national level. Distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, to this end, I encourage the Honorable Governors of Islamic Development Bank Group to share experience and information on exploring and developing possible Islamic impact investing policies and its mechanisms to be applied as short or long-term financing strategy for the Sustainable Development Goals in economics and finance, research, business, and accounting, with other distinguished speakers and participants in this high-level policy dialogue. I do hope that today's dialogue would contribute to better tomorrow across Islamic Development Bank member countries and the whole world. I sincerely extend my highest appreciation to the Financial Service Agency, OJK, and Islamic Development Bank for organizing the dialogue, and wish you all productive discussion during the event. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much. Allow me to please next invite His Excellency Dr. Mulyaman Haddad, Chairman of Indonesia's Financial Services Authority, to deliver a keynote address.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Excellency Dr. Ahmad Muhammad Ali, President of the IDB Group, Honorable Minister of Finance, Dr. Bambang Brojonegoro, the representative of UNDP, fellow speakers, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Very good morning to all of you. All praises to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most gracious and merciful, for granting us His blessing so we could attend this very important dialogue on the advancing Islamic finance and impact investing. May glory and peace also come upon to our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family, his companions, and those who follow his guidance. Let me start by welcoming all of you, particularly the representative of the Islamic Development Bank's member countries, to Jakarta, Indonesia. It is such a wonderful opportunity for Indonesia to be hosting this important series of events which have been attended by so many prominent people from the four corners of the world. This certainly is an affirmation of how Indonesia has become increasingly important to the global financial sector, particularly in the context of Islamic finance. In this regard, I applaud the IDB and the Indonesian Ministry of Finance for putting Indonesia on the map as the country deserves it, and equally importantly for all their work hard in organizing this event. It is a pleasure for me to speak at this very important policy dialogue, and we thank the organizers, the Islamic Development Bank, as well as the United Nations Development Program for the invitation to speak today. I find the theme of this policy dialogue to be not only relevant but also very essential for all of us, as it could help address the social and environmental issues in achieving sustainable development goals, which many countries are facing. There are two important concepts contained in today's dialogue theme, which are highly interrelated and also very closely related to our role. The first one is Islamic finance, and the second one is impact investing. With this in mind, I would like, as part of my keynote address today, to cover three important areas. The first one is the importance of impact investing to Indonesia for supporting, not only for improving the welfare of the people, but also for supporting sustainable development, as well as our initiative for promoting impact investing in Indonesia. Secondly, the role of Islamic finance to support sustainable development and our initiative for promoting Islamic finance in Indonesia. And thirdly, the main challenges which need to be addressed in order to advance Islamic finance and impact investing in Indonesia. On a personal note, I hope that today's dialogue can serve as a platform for the sharing of experiences on the development of Islamic finance and impact investing in other jurisdictions, from which we can hopefully draw valuable lessons. Distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen, we have learned that impact investing is gaining traction globally. This is not surprising, as impact investing has a noble intent, namely to generate social and environmental impact alongside the financial return. Apart from improving social livelihood and addressing environmental issues, impact investing is also believed to result in sustainable financing. This is because the impact investing highlights the importance of responsible finance in building a resilient and robust economy, as well as healthy society. It is also important to note that impact investing has the same core principles as sustainable financing. The Indonesian government have always recognized the importance of sustainable financing to our nation's ongoing economic prosperity. More specifically, we are cognizant that Indonesia's future economic growth and goals cannot be sustainably achieved unless we adequately consider social and environmental aspects. To illustrate the significance of sustainable financing to Indonesia, I draw to your attention the following matters. Firstly, Indonesia is the world's biggest archipelago country, with more than 13,000 islands. As an archipelago country, not surprisingly, Indonesia is highly vulnerable to climate change. Secondly, Indonesia possesses the world's third largest tropical forest, following Brazil and Congo. This makes Indonesia one of the lungs of the planet Earth. And thirdly, As a G20 member country, Indonesia has made a commitment to significantly lowering its greenhouse gas emission by 2020. More specifically, during the Pittsburgh Summit of 2009, Indonesia had committed to lowering its emission by 26% independently and by 41% with the help of the international community. Distinguished speakers, participants, ladies and gentlemen, taking into account this consideration and also our responsibility to ensure that the financial sector support our nation in fulfilling its global commitment, we have implemented a number of initiatives to promote sustainable financing in Indonesia. In 2015, supported by the Ministry of Environmental Affairs and Forestry, we launched what is known as an Indonesia Sustainable Finance Roadmap for 2015 and 2019. In summary, the fundamental objective of this roadmap is encourage all financial institutions regulated by OJK to adopt sustainable finance principles and practices. More specifically, the roadmap represents an umbrella of medium and long-term strategies aimed at each of the sector regulated by OJK, namely banking, capital market, and non-bank financial institutions. Some of these initiatives contained in the roadmap include green banking, increased financing for eco-friendly sectors, the creation of green index, the issuance of sukuk and green bonds, the design of eco-friendly insurance product, and the development of a sustainable index for eco-friendly public companies. In addition to the roadmap, in 2015, we roll out a pilot project called Indonesia First Movers on Sustainable Banking, which involved 8 of Indonesia's largest banking organizations. We are pleased to note that thus far, this pilot project has been operating very successfully. Look ahead to 2016 and beyond. We plan to issue a comprehensive financial industry-wide regulation on sustainable finance, which will include such matters as the definition of sustainable finance, responsibilities of financial institutions, reporting mechanism, and incentivization versus disincentivization. It is envisaged that in 2017, this industry-wide guideline will be complemented by sector-specific regulation covering each of our 3 regulated sectors. We believe that in long term, advancing impact investing, or in more broadly, sustainable financing, it is expected to encourage sustainable economic growth, which will in turn create a larger market for financial services activity. Distinguished speakers, participants, ladies and gentlemen. Turning now to the role of Islamic finance and our initiatives. As I stated previously, the principles of underlying Islamic finance and impact investing are closely intertwined. As the UNDP has previously noted, the Sharia principles underpinning Islamic finance contain many similarities to those of impact investing. We are hopeful, therefore, that by promoting the growth of Islamic finance, we would concurrently be boosting impact investing levels in our country. As we are all aware, Islamic finance has drawn global attention in recent years. We have also witnessed the rapid development of Islamic financial market in terms of both asset size and financial product offered. According to the Global Islamic Finance Report 2015, the total Islamic assets worldwide have increased substantially from around 150 billion US dollars in 1990s to approximately $2 trillion US dollars today. Despite its rapid growth, there is still plenty of room for the global Islamic finance industry to grow. Moving forward, based on current growth rates, the industry is forecasted to amass 6.5 trillion US dollars in assets by the year 2020. On the domestic front, It is also satisfying to learn that Indonesia is ranked 7 out of 45 countries surveyed in the context of Islamic Financial Country Index for the year 2015. As such, Indonesia unquestionably has tremendous potential to further develop the Islamic finance industry. Even further, being the country with the world's largest Muslim population, Indonesia certainly has huge potential to be the Mecca of global Islamic finance. In 2014, as part of our attempt to increase the share of Islamic finance market in Indonesia, we established an advisory committee known as the Committee for Islamic Financial Services Development. This committee was tasked with assisting us to formulate national strategy and operational policies pertaining to Islamic financial development. The committee consists of a wide range of members, including Sharia scholars, high-level officials of government institutions, academia, economics, and Islamic financial experts, among others. In 2015, we launched what we term an Islamic Finance Roadmap 2015-2019, which comprised a series of activities aimed at developing the Islamic finance industry in Indonesia. Mirroring the Sustainable Finance Roadmap, the Islamic Finance Roadmap encompasses a range of initiatives directed at Indonesia Islamic banking, Islamic capital market, and Islamic non-bank financial institutions, and is aimed at increasing the growth of contribution of each of these three sectors to the national economy. More broadly, we are specifically pleased to note that Indonesian government shares our commitment to further develop Islamic finance in this country. This commitment is certainly evidenced, for example, by the establishment of the National Committee on Islamic Finance by President Joko Widodo, who has also taken up the role of the chairman of the advisory board. Distinguished speakers, participants, ladies and gentlemen. And turning finally, ladies and gentlemen, to the topic of the main challenges which need to be addressed in order to advance Islamic finance and sustainable financing in Indonesia, let me first proudly quote the Islamic Growth Market Investment Report 2015, which has placed Indonesia within the top 3 countries, along with Malaysia and UAE. Furthermore, the report noted that Indonesia shows the strongest growth fundamentals among the top 3, having the highest population and GDP. As such, with the flow of Islamic investment to Indonesia being one of the highest in the world, it is therefore a challenge for Indonesian regulators and Indonesian authorities to ensure that the investment is being managed responsibly, contains social environmental dimension, and is able to generate sustainable development. In our experience, there are 3 main challenges which the Indonesian Islamic finance industry must address in order for it to continue to develop and increase its role in achieving sustainable development goals. These challenges, firstly, size and depth of the market. Indonesia needs to have Islamic financial institutions which are strong and reasonably sizable. Limited capital support for Islamic financial institutions would place them at a financial disadvantage and limit their role. Our Islamic financial market need also to be further deepened with more investment and financing instruments. Secondly, Indonesia needs to continue its human resource development. In terms of sufficient quantity and quality, we have experience and expertise in managing the Islamic financial services industry. And thirdly, related to business models, Islamic finance institutions in Indonesia need to further to have innovative business model, efficient distribution channels, and wide-ranging products which are appropriate for the needs of the population, segment they serve. And this includes the emerging middle class, the lower income population, and small to medium enterprises. Furthermore, in relation to the advancement of sustainable financing, there are 6 challenges need to be addressed. The first one is about lacking of capacity of financial institutions to identify social and environmental risks. As a result, financial institutions will be unaware of the existence of these risks, and consequently, there will be no risk mitigation process in their financing program. Secondly, lack of awareness. The reason for the lack of awareness are environmentally friendly projects are normally high risk and currently are not incentivized, and there has not been a consensus from the stakeholders on definition of green and non-green concept. And then mismatch of financing maturity. Socially and environmentally friendly projects tend to be long-term, while bank loans tend to be short-term. And then thirdly, lacking of information on environmentally friendly programs. The amount of information on environmentally friendly projects or programs is inadequate and still in inception business phase. Limited capacity of banking sector and limited instruments for investment and for financing in supporting environmentally friendly projects are also very important issues to be discussed further. Limited understanding of regulators on financing socially and environmentally friendly projects, possibly due to the unpopularity of these issues among the agencies and among the authorities. Distinguished speakers, participants, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, I would like to leave you with these words. As we have seen, the concept of Islamic finance and impact investing in achieving sustainable development goals are all highly interrelated. We are fully aware of the importance of impact investing to Indonesia, as well as the significant contribution that Islamic finance could potentially make in this regard. Accordingly, we remain strongly committed to continuing to promote impact investing and Islamic finance level in this country, although a number of challenges to the further development of Islamic finance in Indonesia exist. We are alert of this and will endeavor to implement the appropriate address to address them. I believe that today's policy dialogue will provide a great opportunity for all of us to obtain a good insight and valuable knowledge on Islamic finance and impact investing, as well as how they can accelerate growth and make it more sustainable and inclusive. I look forward to hearing from the various speakers and participants regarding the strategies and policies implemented in other jurisdictions. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestow us with strength, patience, and perseverance in fulfilling our duties to contribute to the development of Islamic finance, to the improvement of livelihood in our country, as well as to the earth preservation for our future generation. Thank you again, the IDB and UNDP and the Minister for the invitation to speak today. Thank you. Terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much. As the next item on the agenda today, we will move to a panel discussion where our colleagues from the IDB and UNDP will be joined by representatives of the private sector and academia to share with us their insights into the synergy between Islamic finance and impact investing. Each of our distinguished panelists will first make a brief presentation, and then our colleague, Brother Shahmi from the Islamic Financial Services Department will lead them in a moderated Q&A session and discussion. So without further ado, let me invite our distinguished panelists and Brother Shahmi, who will introduce them turn by turn.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I would like to invite all the speakers, the panelists on the stage. Firstly, I would like to invite Professor Kabir Hassan. He is the Professor of Economics and Finance and Bank Professor of Business, Department of Economics and Finance, University of New Orleans. Secondly, I would like to invite Mr. Ari Bowo, the founder and partners of Solusi Tunai. Thirdly, I would like to invite Dr. Nusret Yuter, the founder of Tazi Kuru Company, a business call to action member countries for Turkey representative. Fourthly, I would like to invite Ms. Gulcin, Deputy Director, UNDP Istanbul, International Center for Private Sector Development. And last but not least, I would like to invite Mr. Ahmad Faid Jibali, the Director of Financial Services, Islamic Financial Services Department, Islamic Development Bank. Okay, in the interest of the time, I think we have only less than about an hour to discuss its most important topics today on Islamic finance, how to advance Islamic finance and impact investing. I don't intend to talk much on the topic. I would let the speakers, the panelists, to discuss more, as they are the expert. Okay, basically, I have divided this session into 3 rounds, basically. The first round will be the presentation by the panelists. Each panelist will be given about 5 to 7 minutes to make a presentation. And then the second round, I'll be asking about a few questions to each of the panelists. And lastly, I think I open the floor to the audience to, if you have any question to ask to the panelists. Okay, without further delay, I would like to invite Professor Kabir Hassan to deliver his presentation. Thank you.
Auzu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Assalamu alaikum, and dear respected audience. I have just prepared some speech, so hopefully I will have another chance to interact with you. Talking about Islamic finance and now, let me start with what impact investing means. You have been hearing the speeches from the August audience this morning before the session started. There are 2 parts to this: social investment and impact investing. And impact investing has to do something, it's an offshoot of ethical investing, but basically the investor want financial return as well as other goals they want to see from their investment. So there is a definition given by G8, Social Impact Investment Task Force. Those forms of investment financing that intentionally target specific social objectives along with financial returns and measures with achievement of both. The estimated size of SII market globally in 2015, according to one estimate, is in excess of $12 billion with significant growth potential. Now, to date, social impact investment, with the exception of international development finance, is largely confined to a series of domestic markets across the world, with countries such as the UK, the United States, and the Luxembourg taking the lead in developing the infrastructure to support national market growth. Within the UK, London forms a domestic financial center for SII with a large proportion of social impact investors and intermediaries based in the capital. Now, the impact investing includes examining areas of social impact, for example, job creation, environmental impact, governance standards, for which Islamic values provide principles but not tax-derived roles. Impact investing often entails positive selection criteria in addition to negative screens. Now, Islamic finance goes beyond the purpose of financing and also covers its structure. This is because of Islamic's prohibition on riba and excessive gharar, which are generally interpreted to include lending money on interest and trading for risk. However, the current form-oriented and legalistic compliance in Islamic finance that often has little effect on the economic substance of transactions suggests that this prohibition cannot explain the lack of collaboration with SRI. Now, Islamic finance and impact investing. Islamic finance has parallels with SSI in many ways, as investments are made in line with the principles of Sharia, and social impact standards and reporting has the ability to support the development of consensus-driven and market-led standards and reporting. Encouraging retail investment through a supportive regulatory environment, creating and fully utilizing a supportive regulatory environment for SII, granting new powers to trustees, implementation of more coherent regulators, adoption of associate guidelines, and introducing compliance cost, and that is aligned with the size of the investment. Now, Islamic finance requires a stronger form of governance in addition to the oversight role of the Sharia Council, which ensures compliance with Islamic tenets. Drawing upon the foundational principle Islam through a rich set of financial instruments, all with the view to creating a more inclusive society with reduced poverty and inequality, and Islamic finance parallels the social imperatives of impact investing. Goals and value of Islamic finance impact. Impact investment is particularly well suited in frontier and beyond frontier Muslim majority markets. Therefore, Islamic finance impact investing as a platform should be focused in these markets. For example, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Egypt, Morocco, Nigeria, and Kazakhstan. At the same time, the social aspect of these markets need to be considered. Impact investing requires an expansion of capabilities. Islamic investment managers should develop a broader ethical outlook by gaining expertise in Sharia screening. Ethical advisory boards should be established to contribute to the infrastructure needed to promote Islamic finance. Muslim communities may demonstrate an authentic faith-based impetus to learn from others and construct significant platforms of dialogue and sharing. And Islamic norms of responsibility have parallels with a number of contemporary sustainability and responsibility initiatives such as Equator Principles. Now, as the social impact investment market matures, leading financial centers have the opportunity to evolve into global financial centers for inward and outward flows of international social impact investment. And this UNDP initiative, I hope, will guide us to that direction. Growing and drawing a country's highly skilled workforce to attract more skilled professionals into the social sector can be achieved through targeted education, training, and greater cross-fertilization of knowledge and expertise between the financial, corporate, and social sectors, both domestically and internationally. Stimulating supply and demand for SSI opportunities for international capital in the future can be done through a variety of approaches, including the development of products that are suited to new investors, such as retail investors, as well as foundations and trusts, which now have a specific power to make SSI investments. An example of such a product might be solidarity-style funds, making greater use of mainstream funds and product design for SSI use, as exemplified by the Trade Needle Social Bond Fund, is also important. And the product should also be designed with the due recognition of mixed motives of social investors. Securing a mature global position can be accomplished by attracting and supporting a robust pipeline of international investing opportunities through provisions of targeted technical assistance for social sector organizations. And working with other countries to introduce international social impact measurement standards and accreditation models, and encouraging investors and fund managers to adopt greater accountability for social impact measurement standards using existing accreditation. It is important for investors to use existing platforms where possible to encourage collaboration to move forward globally recognized impact measurement principles and standards. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Kabir Hassan. Next, I would like to invite Mr. Ari Wibowo to deliver his presentation.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I will provide a bit of perspective on Indonesia's Sharia microfinance industry and probably share a bit of our company, Solicit Nice experience in the market. So microfinance is an important part of impact investing in Indonesia. In Indonesia, this can be divided into a conventional or non-Sharia compliant microfinance as well as a Sharia compliant microfinance. Currently, we define this as market served by MFIs, which is regional banks and some cooperatives. I have some data here on the microfinance institution. We have about 1,600 microfinance institutions in Asia. About 10% of those is Sharia compliant. And overall, they have about 5,000 branches, which is about the same size as a major bank in Indonesia, like BNI or like Bank Mandiri. Total asset combined is about 95 trillion rupiah. That's probably about $9 billion, which is also not insignificant. Now, however, the proportion of Sharia microfinancing in this market is still very small. It's about 10% or below 10% compared to a business, which is consistent with the proportion of Sharia financing compared to the conventional financing in Indonesia. In terms of non-performing loan is actually performing a little worse than normal, than the conventional. I think there's some mistake at the table there. It's about 9.7% for the Sharia microfinance versus 6% in the overall market. Now, on the positive note, the market is growing quite rapidly. It's growing, double digit, almost 20% and above. This is a bit about my company, but what we do. What we do is we issue small loans to our customers based on jewelry or gold collateral. Most of our customers are women because they're the ones who own jewelry in Indonesia. And so, customers who need a loan mostly for their businesses or for their small shops to come in, leave their collateral with us, we appraise it, and then we issue them a loan ranging from 4 months to 24 months. And we also finance new jewelry purchases as a way to develop a market for future lending in the market. Our process is very simple. We issue loans within 10 to 20 minutes, and very simple in terms of requirement. The customer really only needs to bring their identification card and their collateral. Because we rely on collateral, we do not really need to verify income or business or other sophisticated items. We only need to know where they live from their ID card. We only need to know their collateral, and we need to ask a few questions, KYC questions, to make sure that the collateral was not stolen or come from illegal means. So far, we have been in business for 6 years. We have 35 branches in Java and Sulawesi. We have served 42,000 customers, and we try to grow as fast as we can. Some of our customers, typically they are women, business owners. They are market traders, they own small construction company, they own small trades and businesses. And most of the business either go to their business, most of the loans either go to their to their businesses or go to education and items like that. Some of what we try to do are initiatives in the future. We try to always adapt to technology. One of the key initiatives we have right now is to do an off-branch processes. Right now, customer has to come to our branch to make the loan application and to deliver their collateral. So what we would like to do in the future is to have our mobile sales team go to customer location in the markets, in their house, and so on, and do online registration for customer, online appraisal of the collateral. Data gets sent to our branch manager, so we maintain two-factor authentication in the loan issuance. And we would like to send the money for a customer directly to their e-wallet or the bank account. Basically, eliminating the need for customers to travel into our branches. This way, we can broaden our network from our 35 branches to probably 100, 200, probably even 1,000 mobile agents. And we can do customer reminders, feedback from customers, cross-selling, top-up very easily in this method. That's one on off-branch processes. We would like also to do online financing. Basically, customers come in, do their self-registration. We can send our mobile sales force to the customer's location to do the processes, like an offline branch processes. And next thing we do on the funding side of the business, we are starting to do peer-to-peer refinancing of our loan. So we are broadening the participation for Sharia microfinancing globally. So anybody in the world can basically choose one of our loans, finance it in a peer-to-peer manner. And we're also doing a securitization of our loans using our collaterals as guarantees to the bonds. And I was asked about what the challenges are for growth of Sharia microfinance in Indonesia. One of the key challenges we have is really the regulations and the regulators. As a participant of the industry, as a practitioner, our experience that regulation is not very clear. Requirements from our regulators, OJK and Bank Indonesia, do tend to change from time to time, quite rapidly actually. And if you follow what's in their standard website and so on, there will be changes along the way. When we converted our microfinance institution from a regular one that we bought into Sharia, the process took 8 months. And most of this is going back and forth for requirements that was changed quite single-handedly by the regulators. Processes tend to be very slow. We understand that OJK is very short-handed right now, and that also contributes to slow processes. Second one is a strict requirement by Bank Indonesia and OJK on wet signatures to banks. I have quite experience in working in banks in Indonesia. And one of the key challenges we have for doing off-branch transaction is the requirement to have customers sign physically on each application documents. The government just started to do Laku Pandai now, which is an initiative for off-branch transactions that allow digital signature. But implementation of this initiative need to be pushed very rapidly. Now, the second bottleneck we see in Sharia microfinance or the financing in general is not lack of credit bureau, but basically the rudimentary information that's currently available in our credit check in SID or Sistem Informasi Debitur in Bank Indonesia. Right now, we can see if a customer has a late payment or a current delinquency, but we will not be able to see full payment history throughout his life. So if someone is delinquent on his credit card, say 10 years ago or when he was in college, we don't have the information. Now there are multiple softwares for credit scoring, but all of those depend on the quality of information going in. Now, with a proper credit bureau that's more comprehensive, and we'll be able to do risk-based pricing, more unsecured lending that currently is very, very challenging to do by banks and financial institutions in the market. Next limitation we have is network limitation. There is very strict requirement for banks, microfinance institutions to open branches. And another one is Sharia unit in larger banks, say in Bank Danaman or Sinarmas, will have to become their own bank after a certain size, which means that they have, instead of piggybacking to existing bank network, they will have to develop their own branches. And of course, this necessitates very high costs. Next one is funding limitation. MFIs in Indonesia, as in many other markets, are underfunded. We rely on linkages to banks for our funding. And there's a severe limitation on foreign funders or investors to invest in MFIs in Indonesia. Foreign investors, for example, are not allowed to own shares in MFI in Indonesia. And that also means that there's very limited participation, even for organizations like IDB, to be able to assist RMFIs in Indonesia. I think lastly, which is not on the slide that I would like to mention, is the limitation on e-money. In our market right now, we only have probably about 50 million bank accounts. I think the gentleman from OJK can correct me on this. But we currently have 200 million phone accounts, prepaid cell phone accounts. This is actually a very big foundation if you want to do payment system, issuing loans to customer, top-ups, etc. Unfortunately, since prepaid minutes airtime are deemed as non-cash, the telephone companies will have to re-sign up each customers for an e-wallet or e-transaction accounts. So these are some of the grievances that we have from the industries. I hope that this panel can help us exchange ideas for a better Sharia microfinance in Indonesia. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ari. It's a very interesting presentation with regards to the experience of Solosik Tunai in implementing the Islamic microfinance in Indonesia. Next, I would like to invite Mr. Nosrat to present his presentation. Thank you.
Excellencies, esteemed speakers, distinguished participants. My name is Nusret Yurter. I am the founder of Cendrawasih. It's my pleasure and honor to participate in this high-level policy dialogue for advancing Islamic financing and impact investment for implementing the Sustainable Development Goals. I'd like to thank Islamic Development Bank, OJK, and UNDP for this side event. In September 2015, world leaders have taken up the challenge of achieving sustainable development goals, and power and hunger provide full employment. These are just 3 of 17 SDGs. It is impossible to get there without the participation of private sector. As a Taze Kuru, let me explain how we develop business solution to some of these challenges. In 2010, the price of onion in Turkey was 3.5 Turkish lira and then dropped 0.10 Turkish lira in May. So smallholder farmers decided to leave their products in the field because harvesting them was more expensive than selling. This is the situation in the agriculture. On the other side, when we look at the energy side, Turkey is like Indonesia, is a country of geothermal energy. We have geothermal energy, but unfortunately, we use this geothermal energy in an ineffective way. So, one side, plant of fruits and vegetables wasting. On the other side, energy of geothermal energy is wasting. So we have decided a new business model. What is our business model? By using geothermal water, we dry fruits and vegetables in a patented technology without using any chemicals or any additives. So end product is very valuable, natural, preservative and additive-free products. So actually drying is an ancient preservation method to extend the life shelf of fruits and vegetables. So we upgrade this ancient process. What was the outcome? We source fresh fruits and vegetables from small-scale farmers in Ankara. The main beneficiaries of this business model are low-income, small-scale farmers. The farmers are able to increase their incomes and reduce waste by selling their products to Tazekuru. So we create a microeconomy where we settle. Our business model already began generating significant revenue. We have gone from 60 buyers to over 100 buyers. And also this year we start to export our products. We became a member of Business Call to Action with our sustainable business model, environmental sensitivity, and using local sources. We are also certified B Corporation since we use power of market to solve social and environmental problems and meet certain standards of verified social and environmental performance. We are addressing a solution at least 10 SDGs out of 17 with our unique business model. There are many other business ventures which use the power of markets to solve social and environmental challenges. Scaling these businesses is the key to solve social and environmental problems. However, lack of investment becomes a powerful barrier towards scaling up the business model. Limited or no access to finance limits the potential of expanding business. I'm telling this word as an entrepreneur. This is the fact, this is the reality. And also, given the emphasis of risk sharing, linkages to the real economic activities, partnership, and equity-focused approach, Islamic finance can address the funding needs of impact enterprises. Utilizing Islamic finance in the form of impact investing can address the funding needs of impact-driven business like Tazekuru, and therefore expand market-based solutions to other geographies. Actually, I'm very happy today to be here in Jakarta because my business model perfectly fits Indonesia. Indonesia is #1 potential of geothermal water in the world, and also full of fruits and vegetables. And this is actually perfectly fits our current business model. In this regard, we highly appreciate the timely establishment of Global Islamic Finance and Impact Investing Platform by the Islamic Development Bank and UNDP. We sincerely believe that the platform will create a virtual space to connect impact enterprises with Islamic financiers and impact investors. As an entrepreneur, actually, we need this. The platform will provide impact enterprises with better access to capital and help impact enterprises to grow and scale. So there will be more business that do not only make a profit, but also make a difference for the people and the planet. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the presentation. Without further delay, I would like to invite Ms. Gulchin from UNDP to present her presentation.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Excellencies, distinguished participants, friends, colleagues, I'm honored to be speaking on this panel today, and I would also like to thank Islamic Development Bank and OJK for co-organizing this side event with us. Istanbul International Center for Private Sector in Development is one of the 6 global thematic policy centers of UNDP. We are promoting the sustainable and inclusive business models. We also encourage private sector-led skills development. We also work on impact investing with a special focus on Islamic finance. Regarding the global agenda, I would like to quote Mevlana Celaleddin Rumi, who once said, "Yesterday I was clever, so I wanted to change the world. Today I am wise, so I'm changing myself." Well, the new global agenda is pretty much same. It will help the world nations to change themselves to save the planet. The agenda, with its 17 goals, has, covering economic, social, environmental challenges, has been both applauded and dismissed as being too ambitious. Well, whether it is too ambitious to be reached or ambitious enough to unite the world nations to work together, progressing on the SDGs will definitely contribute to world economy. So what will it take to achieve this bold new agenda? Well, financing is definitely going to be the cornerstone of this new universal agenda. As the previous speakers already mentioned, estimates predict that implementing the SDGs will run between 5 to 7.5 trillion US dollars annually. After government aids and state investments, there will be a shortage of 2.5 trillion US dollars for the investments in the developing world. Well, this is quite a huge number. However, the world also has never been in a better position in history than now. If you look at this slide, the global stock and bond market runs around 133 trillion US dollar, which is almost 8.5 times bigger than the US economy, which is the largest in the world today. What we need is actually to develop right policies, regulatory framework, to attract this only 2% of this amount for the investments in the SDG-related sectors. For years, investors have seen rate of return as the sole barometer of performance, with environmental, social, and governance on the sideline as a nice-to-have concept. Though today, 1 out of every $3 is invested responsibly. Sustainably invested assets went from 13 trillion US dollar up to 21 trillion US dollar between 2012 and 2014. Actually, this 60% increase makes the sustainable investment the fastest growing segment in finance, not only a nice-to-have concept. But for the SDGs, as you all appreciate, we need to go beyond that. We need investments made into companies, organizations with a specific intention to contribute SDGs, generate a measurable, beneficial, social, or environmental impact alongside the financial return. What we need is impact investing. As a matter of fact, impact investments are widely recognized by G8, OECD, and the EU as an effective instrument for development. It's also acknowledged in the Addis Ababa Action Agenda, which will guide the countries to finance and implement the 2030 Agenda. And JP Morgan predicts that the market will go up to 400 billion to 1 trillion US dollar by 2020. So what defines the impact investing? First of all, impact investors have a deliberate intention to generate positive social and environmental impact. Investments that coincidentally produce similar outcomes are not considered impact investing. Secondly, the impact investments are expected to generate a financial return on capital. The return expectations could be at the market rate or the return of the principal value. Investments can be also made across asset classes, such as cash equivalents, fixed income, or venture capital, private equity. But the hallmark of impact investing is the impact measurement. It's the commitment of the investor to measure and report the social, environmental performance of his investment, ensuring the transparency and the accountability. The table here I share with you basically shows some examples of measurable social, environmental outcomes across the key sectors. Now, with their moral and social criteria, as discussed earlier, an emphasis on business-society relations, Islamic finance and impact investing share several things in common. First, both Islamic financing and impact investing are value-based investment structures. And second, in both of these investment structures, investors associate themselves with a moral purpose. The motto, doing good and avoiding harms to others, is an underlying principle for both sectors. And finally, Islamic finance shares a common behavioral concern with impact investing, which is to promote the well-being of all humankind, as Imam al-Ghazali suggests. Both Islamic and impact investors seek to create non-financial value alongside the financial returns. Therefore, bridging the two sectors represent a huge potential for collaboration, cross-learning, but most of all for the improved development outcomes. Aware of these similarities and significant value that could generate, UNDP and Islamic Development Bank joined forces to support scaling up impact investment opportunities. Under this collaboration, we launched the Global Islamic Finance and Impact Investing platform to bring the Islamic impact investors and public or private funds with impact enterprises. As Ms. Sultanoğlu mentioned in her opening remarks, this platform basically builds on business innovation, entrepreneurship, and multi-stakeholder collaboration to maximize the scale and the effectiveness of development investments. Oops, sorry. I'm afraid I lost it. I have one more slide to go, and yes, let me handle that one. Here. There we go. Here, okay. Engaging the private sector, governments, and all other key stakeholders in the Islamic finance market, the platform aims to advance peer-to-peer learning, advocacy, knowledge generation, deal sourcing, matchmaking, but most of all, most important, the identification of best practices in terms of project implementation and policymaking. To conclude my remarks, we need to plan and cooperate for the future, because that's where we all going to spend the rest of our lives together. With this platform, we call for stronger commitment to global partnerships for our common future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gulcin. Finally, we have a presentation from Mr. Ahmed Faid Jibali.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أفضل المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. Just to share with you very quickly that I was not prepared to give a presentation. I think my colleague, the moderator, he changed the tactics at the final minutes. But the good things to share here that although I was not preparing to give a presentation, that's because of the knowledge sharing and my presentation, which is shared before with my colleague, he bring it to me on the screen. So this is the good side. Just before I start the presentation, I want to share with you something very important. Coming from a private sector mindset and background joining IDB for almost 1 year and a half. I was too much logical mindset background. I was taking care about only making money, help rich to be richer or richest. Just take care about achieving our earning spread, adding value to the shareholders, making the share price at the highest, receiving our bonus at the end of the year. And this was our life, and paid the zakah only on our money. This was my relation with the social finance, paying the zakat every year. One night I was asking myself about what I contribute to the ummah as a Muslims, as a human beings, has been created to create and to build earth. And I found myself as guilty, not contributing to the others, giving from my efforts. Only money will not be able to support poor. So after 2 days, I received a call from Headhunter asking me, offering me to join IDB. At that time, I was sitting and I was asking myself, is it a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala given to me and test me about my intention? So making istikhara and asking my family while I was in Canada, I decided to go for this journey. So last week I had a discussion with one of the president advisors in IDB, and I was discussing one of the most important issues related to Islamic finance and our role as Islamic Development Bank. And he told me, you are too emotional. Don't talk emotions. You have to deliver based on the mandate given. So I told him, if I'm talking your language and to be a logical mindset, I will not join IDB. Because I was paid 4 times in the private sector. And still, I have offers and offers to join. But let me to share with you our journey and how we tested ourselves when United Nations in last September 2015 launched the SDG. It was my first time to read about something called Sustainable Development Goals. And to understand SDG, I went beyond 15 years ago and I was asking myself about the Millennium Development. And I was assessing the global financial system, talking about measuring the impact. I was trying to see what happened out of the capitalization or socialism system. So let's to share with you the results or the impact of the global financial system based on the United Nations numbers and figures. If you can see the gap in income and wealth is widening between poor and rich every day. This is as a result, as an impact of the global financial system. This is number one. Number two, 1 in 5 people still lacks access to modern electricity. 836 million people still live in extreme poverty. Globally, 1 in 9 people in the world today, 795 millions, are nourished. I don't remember too much the presentation because I gave this in September in New York in United Nations. So I'm trying to reach what? 103 million youth worldwide lack basic literacy skills. More than 6 million children still die before their 5th birthday each year. Water, access to water, the 40% of the global population and projected to raise has no access to clean water. And 820 million people live in slums today, and the number is keeping rising. Let's evaluate, is the global financial system today can be the solution for the social justice in the distribution of the wealth worldwide. I was thinking that way, and then I will start thinking from Islamic finance industry point of view. Islamic finance, as we may know, it's by design reached 2 trillion. Why I'm saying by design? Because I think it was 40 years ago, it was a dream that Islamic finance, which has been established to serve a Muslim community in a very small village, starting in 63 in Egypt, to be a globally recognized as we are today, talking, supporting, and contributing to the implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals. I think the most optimistic person at that time has no dream, if even it's in his dream, that Islamic finance will reach what we reach it today. The question why? Why Islamic finance coming from developing countries, coming from a country which is the highest rate of poverty, corruptions, still we are a developing country. We have a lot. No education system, proper education system, healthcare system. The end product of the human being in these countries is still very weak to be able to achieve what has been achieved in this industry. The question why? Because of the needs of, let's to think logically, what the world need from the Islamic finance industry. Do they need for the fund a $2 trillion? Do we believe that a $2 trillion, which represent 1% of the global financial system, is something that can encourage people to come out towards us? So always with my colleagues, we are always asking ourselves, why? Because we have to be proud of what we are doing. Impact investing. As you see the results of the global financial system today, what's the impact? We can easily see poor everywhere. We can see poverty. We can see the widening between poor and rich. Why? Because we are talking the same language. The social impact and everything developing the environment. To be able to restore the human dignity. We are not talking about Muslims or non-Muslims. We are talking about human. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. Prophet Muhammad has been sent to the mankind. It's not for Muslims. It's not for anybody. It's for everybody. So I think here we can start our questions. And when we was discussing the impact investing and was discussing these issues with the United Nations team, I would like to thank them very much because they educated us about what does it mean. But when we understood what they mean about investment impact or impact investing, we discovered that this is in our principle. We live in this every day. We wake up every day doing that every day. We are contributing. We are being created to build the earth. So just to go through, I will not go through all these things, but let's to share something about Islamic finance and the potential of growing and what can be achieved. Islamic finance industry is growing 50% faster than the commercial or the conventional. Yes, it's a small. Yes, the percentage of gross is based on a small numbers. But let me to share with you something very important. I ran a study with my MBA student in Rotman School of Management in University of Toronto. And we found that Islamic finance consider as a 2 trillion part of a 17 trillion social responsible index or investment or industry index. And it's a part of $45 trillion ethical industry. So we are a part of this world and we have to contribute to the good things of the world. This is the privilege that we have. We are always connected to value added, real economy. Yes, somebody can ask me about why the industry is 60% or more driven by debt. It's 40 years only, comparing to more than 470 years conventional. So still, we are yet unmatured, but we are working hard, and what has been achieved in 40 years' time make us as a human being proud, having a potential for a new financial system can add to the human beings. Just to go to describe the industry today and what we are missing and what we need to do to have a real contribution to the implementation of the SDG and to be able to measure the impact. The industry today Islamic finance industry, 2 trillion, is almost serving like 70 to 90 million worldwide. Between corporate, high net worth, ultra high net worth individual, high net worth individual, and a medium income. Because 80% of the industry remain with Islamic banks. The rest of 20%, 16 to 17%, is under the sukuk. And most of the sukuk, 70% of the sukuk worldwide, is sovereign sukuk. And 30% between quasi-sovereign and corporate. So still, we are too young and too small to be able to contribute and to help in implementing the SDGs. How we can change that? This is the role of IDB with other enablers that we are doing. In IDB, 10 years strategy in the Islamic finance strategic objectives and strategic pillars, we design it that way. We design it to contribute more and to develop more the social finance sectors, which has been missed in the last 40 years. So talking about the lower mass and the disadvantages. This can be targeted with awqaf, zakat, and talking about the real source, using or the real source, or how to use the sadaqah, and how to encourage private sector to contribute to the social impact and at the same time making a return. We have a good example in IDB in the last 14 years, which is called ABIF. I'm so proud. And it's an honor to be on the top of this with my team running this fund today, which is Awqaf Investment Property Investment Fund. This investment fund is towards developing the assets, non-generating Awqaf assets, to develop it to be developing an income-generating assets, contributing to the needs of the disadvantages and low-income people. For the last 14 years, we are running this. We are very conservative as an IDB culture. I came from private sector and I told them this is treasure. If I have this access to this fund in the private sectors, I will make it a billion-based fund. And I approached the president and the management and I told them, we are charging very low interest or profit rate. We can make more money. We are financing projects with no value and we make it with millions of dollars. We can share profit. So they told me, brother, thank you very much. You are doing great. Continue, because our mission is development, is not to make profits. It's to add value. It's to contribute to the needs of the ummah, the needs of the human beings. So we are financing projects everywhere, from Australia, USA, Europe, Africa, Asia, Middle East, everywhere. We have 55 projects equal to 1.6 billion almost, with a fund only, paid up capital, 76 million. This is the social finance. This is the real social finance. Reviving of Sunnat al-Waqf, in the same time making a return for investors and making a social impact. So going through that, so let's to say, I would not go through the meaning of Islamic finance because I think I give a lot and I don't want to make it more boring, but let's to share with you what does mean sustainable development. Because a lot of people asking me, I was moderating one of the sessions just right now, and I do believe most of our people still they are looking for what does it mean sustainable development. Sustainable development and what Islamic finance can do. Islamic finance can play a strong, yes, we are yet a small industry, but we can strongly play a good role at least in 3 dimensions. Possesses fair and equitable tool for risk appetite and allocations. Islamic finance also possesses effective instruments to promote domestic resource mobilizations. And we can share in details if you have any question here. And Islamic finance possesses enabling social welfare tools to leverage concessional finance. We run a study in IDB to ensure that what we are doing is in matching with supporting the implementation of SDG. We went through IDB group mission priorities. And all the priorities here is as listed here, and we listed the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. We found that IDB mission priorities matching and supporting 15 SDGs out of the 17. Why? Why not 17? Because the other two is more to developed country more than developing countries. So still we are in the stage phase one of developing, but we are very attached, and what we are doing here is great. IDB member countries' priorities is the same, has been matched and has been connected to that, and we found ourselves that IDB mission for the last 40 years doing sustainable development. Nothing out of this. To share that from Islamic finance, the role of finance, Islamic finance supporting the SDGs itself, and we map it to 3 aspirations that we have under our Islamic finance strategy in IDB, which is finance for social development, financing for infrastructure development, and financing innovations to achieve efficiency. So if you can see, the 17 SDGs has been mapped to our 3 aspirations, which was our source of building the 10 years strategy for Islamic finance in IDB group without knowing SDG, because we developed our strategy before the SDG launching. We went through the 169 targets under the 17 sustainable goals to ensure that we are in match. It's not just a cosmetics, it's not just a makeup, just to make our management happy or the world happy of what Islamic finance contributing. And we went through one by one. And we matched everything from every category to the number of SDGs linked to each one, and the Islamic finance mechanism, how to implement that. So we proved for ourselves. So now we are today here proud that, yes, we have the mechanism. Yes, we can contribute. Yes, we can support. Yes, it's a $1 trillion needed every year to implement the SDGs. Yes, we are 2 trillion industry. Yes, but we have the instrument that we can help implementing the SDGs in the coming 15 years. And we are proud to say that today, and we are proud to share that with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ahmed, for the very interesting presentation. Okay, prerogative of the moderator, I think because of in the interest of the time, we have exceeded the time given. I would like to open, instead of I'm giving the question to the panelists, I would like to open and invite the guests or the audience to ask the panelists if you have any questions. Okay, there's one question there. Okay, can we have 3 hands, three questions first? Okay, can we take the question first from the audience?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nizam Ismail. I'm from Singapore. I'm a lawyer by profession. One of my practice areas is Islamic finance. And recently I've been doing a lot of work in financial technology or fintech. And I'm particularly interested in our brother's presentation on his secured lending platform in Indonesia, which I think is wonderful. And I think it ties in nicely with the last presentation as well, in terms of reducing the gap for Islamic finance between the bank and the underbanked community. My question really is this. In the course of your presentation, you spoke about unclear regulations as being one issue. But I'd like to also approach it from a broader level, from an IDB level. Do you think there is space for the IDB to champion the use of financial technology to bridge between the bank and the underbanked communities for financial inclusion? And is there space for the IDB, therefore, to also play a role in engaging regulators to come up with harmonized rules to facilitate especially cross-border offering of fintech solutions for our Ummah? Thank you very much.
I think this question has been directed to Mr. Ahmed.
Thank you very much for your questions. This is the platform that we are talking today about. This platform has been designed and implemented, and we're going to implement it because to reach that. Just to share with you something very important you raised here about the regulations and the role of IDB. The 57 countries IDB member countries, when we analyze it and we assess how the Islamic finance looks like in this country and what's this country in a need from IDB in the coming 10 years, we discover that 41 countries out of the 57 in a need for enabling environment for appropriate Islamic finance ecosystem. Talking about legal framework, regulatory framework, and supervisory framework across all sectors or all areas of Islamic finance. Depend on the needs of the country. But this will not be achieved unless there's a political will. We cannot go and open the door and or knock the door and say we will do that. We need the country itself to believe in that and to come to knock the door, and we will help that. And we have a special program called Technical Assistant Grant Program that we are supporting developing this. This is number one. 12 countries out of 57 and the middle level, which is they have partially Islamic finance ecosystem, but not yet everything to cover their needs. I'm not talking about everything in Islamic finance. 4 countries only have the base, have the platform. And these countries, you can implement and using the innovation to have 100% of this population have access virtually to the Islamic finance because of the developed, or it's a very high country, well prepared. Talking about technology and financial inclusion, in my personal opinion, we will not be able to achieve the social finance, which is the other wing of the bird, which is, we call it Islamic finance bird. Islamic finance, it's like a bird, have 2 wings, commercial and social. We will not be able to achieve the commercial unless we implement the technology and use the technology to be able to outreach everybody everywhere. Here is the platform, and this is what we are dreaming to achieve. It's not dreaming big or thinking beyond. No, we are dreaming in reality, and this is what we can achieve. Thank you very much.
Any more questions from the audience? If not, I will give my own question to the panelists. Okay, basically, I would like to ask to Professor Kabir. You have seen that there is a lot of similarities between Islamic finance and impact investing. But to move on, we need the right national policies to strengthen Islamic finance, impact investing as a mechanism. How can the national policy be addressed in that sense?
Before I answer this question, I just want to take the question by this gentleman, this fintech. My prediction is next 20, 30 years down the line, there will be no banking really, mortar break. And part of the reason is technological innovation, and part of the reason the basic fundamental banking model is flawed. We are against it, and Islamic banking actually is a misnomer. We started the wrong path. That will go away too. So in order to have the Islamic finance, that will come non-banking financial form, and there's the fintech companies will play a very critical role. I have 2 young children. They are in college. You know, I rarely talk to them. When I call them, they don't respond. I text them, within 30 seconds, I get a response back. And they go to, alhamdulillah, very good school in the United States, and they tell me they don't need to go to class anymore. So how do you do that? Well, all these things are recorded, so in their leisure time, whatever time they miss class, they can do that. So we have to really brace with this new. And this new technology will be very beneficial for the Islamic finance industry, really, for the growth, to get the maqasid of Sharia and so on. And actually, we have to really look into this thing, and IDB development policy, it has to be included. Second, I'm talking about this impact financing, social finance. I like this analogy, like 2 birds of Islamic finance in the commercial and social. And actually, you know, in the Quran, Allah said the riba is haram and all these things, and trade is halal, but Allah hasn't said that, give me a bank, right? So this is what we have human innovation. We started with a journey, our forefathers, but with this journey, we are going to maturing, and we'll go to the point, we'll get the maqasid Sharia. That is a simple rule of thumb, is saying that if interest rate is 10% in any society, so you divide 100 by 10, every 10 years, that financial destruction, the cycle will continue.
Whatever happened in 2007 to 9 in the United States is going to come back again, depending on the average rate of interest. So the question that you're asking, yeah, we say, oh, Islamic finance, banking is more resilient. These are not really true, correct statement, really. We are immature. So we do not have the complexity of products. So this comparison with conventional finance is really, from the academic or empirical standpoint, is not a really correct science. But we really, what is happening, the development led by IDB and other sister organizations, we are going toward that direction. We realize the fundamental flaw of a banking model. We cannot do impact investment. We cannot get the maqasid, macro maqasid of Islamic finance with this model. We really very quickly start with alternative form of financing. Sukuk is one of these things I want to emphasize. The sukuk structure, you know, we come from a very debt-driven society. So even Islamic finance are run by these conventional bankers who have this idea, whenever they do, their lending comes into play. In Islam, lending is a charitable act, Qardul Hasan. But we always try to connect these things. We try to use the benchmark whether we can do this kind of thing. So what I'm trying to say is that this bringing this impact financing or shared or resharing principle of finance, the sooner we get out of this banking mode of financing. Actually, banking we cannot really. We have to have this for working capital financing. Those who work in the private sector, this liquidity creation somewhere has to be there in an Islamic way. But the long-term shared prosperity, social inclusiveness, reducing income equity in a society, bringing the brotherly feeling, in order to get this on, we really get out of banking, get into this non-banking financial mode. And that's what I hope the academics will come up. It is not easy. We have taken the banking model because we have a model to work with. But it is difficult, risk management, regulation, everything that you talk about. When you go outside the banking model, everything becomes very complicated. You know, this microfinance, you talk about sukuk investing, those things are more and more complicated because these are also new to the trade. Banking, 400 years old, they have perfected this system. They have a lot of, stopgap measures in the Western economies. But the same thing we are experimenting in Islamic countries. Last question. Actually, I wanted to ask this question. We have a sort of crisis in mind. Let me give you an example of two countries. I'm original from Bangladesh. In Bangladesh and Malaysia started the Islamic banking journey at the same time, 1983. And the industry is still 20% and 20% in both countries. The interesting fact is, in Bangladesh, the leadership doesn't believe in Islamic finance. There is an Islamic banking law. But in Malaysia, it started with a banking law and is slowly it progressed. But the point I'm trying to say is that if some way we can really, the people who matter on the top, and those who made a progress in the area, it's not in the formal forum like this, because there are a lot of political, sovereign, all these issues that I'm talking about person-to-person contact, informally. If we can really get this idea into their head, things will move very fast, really. And I do sincerely hope the idea with the other platform will try to bring these people, talk not in a formal way, in like panel. And we're not going to solve the problem in just 5 minutes in the panel to solve all the problem. So we have to start this dawah in an informal level. If a leader in one country knows Islamic finance, have a passion for it, the other one, we have to convey this message in an informal way. If we can hit this mind, then Islamic finance will grow even not more than 50% and a lot higher than this. I'm sorry I take more time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor. Anything to add by other panelists?
Just a very quick comment here. If you are looking for any industry, it's a policy, demand, supply. So policy, as we mentioned, it should be backed by political will. And the demand, the need of the market, and the supply, the quality of what we are providing in the industry. Using the technology here, I remember when we used to build a strategy for banks, Islamic banks or conventional. We used to put 3 elements: people, technology, and process. what we have to target in the area of innovation and technology and instruments, we have to develop something that can be used by the people and the market in a need for to be able to be more efficient and effective. Thank you.
Okay, because we have a very short of time, I have few more questions to the panelists. Perhaps you can give your very brief answer for all the questions here. It's a burning question from the audience, and perhaps and we also receive a question from the other parties as well. Okay, basically, my next question is to Mr. Ari. How can, based on your experience in developing the microfinance, how can the impact enterprise in the Muslim majority countries can be improved in order to advance the impact readiness to attract investors?
Thanks, sir. I think, as we mentioned previously, foreign investment is not yet welcome in microfinance institutions in Indonesia. However, what we learned before is that it can be achieved through, if the investment is made through either a venture capital or private equity fund. So that is potentially one way to contribute in this industry. By having basically Islamic private venture capital or private equity targeting specifically to this microfinance industry in Indonesia or in the region. Other than that, obviously, things like training, financial, especially in financial and Sharia law, training in customer service, things like that are things that will be very beneficial to the industry.
Thank you. And my next question is to Dr. Yoter. Based on your presentation just now, you have been successfully developed a very good business based on this impact investing business. Basically, what kind of challenges that you face when you try to implement this kind of business in the market?
Tommy, it's the value proposition. Sorry, can I have the question once again? I'm sorry. Can I have the question once again?
Can you say the question one more time?
Missed the question.
Dr. Yuter.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
Because the voice is not clear.
Yeah, I couldn't hear the voice.
Yeah.
Thank you. Actually, shortly, we have come certain points. We are addressing plenty of points, such as small-scale farmers, uneducated women, stopping waste of energy, stopping waste of fruits and vegetables. The end product is value-added, exportable products. While we are producing, we are not making any carbon emission, which is very valuable in these days. We did something, we come some certain point, but as the topic of today, our main problem is reaching the finance for expansion, for penetration, for marketing. You may count on. So that's why actually I am here. I am a case study. We did something, but to expand our operation, we need finance. I believe the DNA of Islamic finance is sharing, risk sharing, linkages to the real economic activities, and also partnership and equity focus, which are the normal boundaries of Islamic finance, perfectly matches for the sustainable business models. So hope these gatherings can have some positive results for the companies like us to expand the operations.
I think perhaps this forum most likely, or perhaps inshallah, will be addressing the issue that being facing by your company. Perhaps Ms. Gulching, to end this session, can you explain more about this platform and what is the value proposition coming from this platform? And perhaps I understand that there will be communicate to the public, to the audience. Perhaps you can share more on this.
Just about the communique, we will have a short summary of the structure of the platform that will be distributed, and we would be very happy if you can take a copy along when you are leaving the panel. About the value proposition, Brother Shami, I think the answer is kind of summarizing all the presentations. As we discussed earlier, the global agenda will require a massive investment. And to face this challenge, we need to utilize all kinds of financial structures, domestic, international, innovative, traditional, public or private. And as discussed earlier, Islamic finance with a total global market value of $2 trillion emerged as a very potent but still yet untapped source for SDG implementation. Utilizing Islamic finance through impact investing could generate significant results, but not only that, also positioning the Islamic finance among the development finance instruments could also advance the global recognition of the Islamic finance and the credibility. And besides also serving to the global agenda, impact investing also offers the Islamic financiers a clear and a benchmarkable methodology for measuring their investment, social and environmental impact. And this might even shift the paradigm of doing no harm to creating a trackable positive impact for their investors in this sector. Last but not least, also bridging the two sectors may also unleash the access to the high number of institutional investors in the sector beyond the OIC countries. For example, Impact-based, the Global Directory of Impact Investing Network have more than 2,000 subscribers, and they have about 375 products and funds. Coming to, yes.
Sorry, I have to cut it
Just
short,
because
we are short of time right now. I think the committee has signaled that we have to stop here. Sorry for disrupting the very interesting. I think we have getting into the mode of discussion, but we have to cut it short because of the time. In short, I think I would say that it's a very good initiative to see that this global impact, Islamic finance impact investing, is another avenue for the Islamic finance and also impact investing to achieve something good towards achieving the sustainable development goals. I think later on, I think we're going to have more and more events and more dialogues discussing on this area. With that, I would like to end this session with Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much for your attention.